Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the question box for Friday, the 27th of August, 2021. I am one of your hosts, Shane Bailey, and I'm joined by a very good friend who I've been dying to have on the show. She is one of the founders of Attack On Geek and has a laundry list of other titles, which we'll probably get into over the course of the show. Please welcome Dhayana Sena. How are you, Dhayana?
Good, thank you, Shane. How are you?
I'm very well. Yeah, no word of a lie. I've been very excited to have you on as a fellow Xbox fan, mega fan, I might say. Um,
Obsessed.
but for those who don't have Twitter and might not have seen what you get up to in the gaming sphere, why don't you introduce yourself and yeah, tell the world what you do.
By day I work at Madman, so I work a lot on anime and I bring anime films to Australia and New Zealand. And by night I do everything from writing reviews to content to speaking with media about how important it is to have diversity in games. Almost everything that's out there in the world of gaming, I've kind of got a hand in the pot, so to speak. So I'm a doer of many things and a wearer of many hats. But you can obviously find me on Mr. Geek. That's the handle that I go by, and a lot of my work is up on Attack on Geek.
Awesome. And let's talk quickly about your involvement with Xbox. Like you're Xbox ambassador, MVP. I would love to hear more about your love for Xbox because it's going to be a big topic of the show. And as you can see behind me as well, I'm a huge Xbox fan.
Yes, I've already got my top on just
Nice.
to showcase that love. Yeah, no, I kind of fell into Xbox after meeting my partner, to be honest. So I didn't grow up with Xbox or anything like that. I actually learned about Xbox and fell in love with the community when I watched my partner stream. Way back in 2015, Xbox and Microsoft had a program called the Expert Zone Game Masters, where they had a whole range of people from all around the world kind of streaming video games and trying to get people excited about new Xbox games and answering questions and product related support questions and things like that. So my partner used to stream on the channel. He'd interact with all these people from all around the world, and I used to sit there and watch him. And it just blew my mind how amazing the Xbox community was, because I came from a background where I was very nervous to play online games because I was very afraid of the harassment and the bullying and the stranger danger that there was. So when I saw the Xbox community was so lovely and, my partner made some really good friends, I kind of went, well, okay, let me try. And ever since then, we're here now. Ever since then, it's just been so surreal. I can't even really chart out every single step of my journey because it's just happened.
Mm.
And now I'm here.
Nice. Well, like I said, fantastic to have you on the show because we've got some great topics to talk about, including Xbox, particularly at Gamescom, and a whole bunch of Halo news. Also, for those tuning in for the first time, this is the Question Box, your weekly gaming talk show. We don't cover all or most of the gaming news. We cover only the most important news from our beloved industry over the past 7 days. You can follow us here at twitch.tv/magic_cast. Catch all our prior episodes on YouTube as well. Just search Magic Cast on YouTube, and you can also follow me on Twitter as well at Magic_Cast, and follow Dhayana as well. You can see her handle on the screen there. So we'll dive into, in the first half of the show, we'll dive into the top three biggest game stories from the week. And I see Tom is too keen to get in on the action as well.
Yep, he had to join us.
That's all good. And in the latter half of the show, we'll dive into question time. We'll bring into question one big topic or trend, and that will be Xbox, Halo, and everything happening at Gamescom. Dhayana, are you keen to get into the top three?
Yes, of course.
Let's do it. Cool. So we'll kick off with a story that I spotted on PC Gamer around Steam and its wish list, and a great piece by Evan Lati 4 days ago. Let me switch over the overlay so everyone can see. He says, "What Steam's most wishlisted games tell us about the state of PC gaming?" Which I thought was a really interesting analysis. So for those who aren't aware, Steam has a wishlist function, very similar to a lot of digital storefronts, where users can sort of, I suppose, track or follow particular products on the storefront and be updated when they go live, when they go on sale. And it's a great tool for, developers and publishers on the platform to keep track of the interest in their games. I'll head down a bit here, and Simon Carlos, who's founder of Game Discover Co., an agency that researches game discovery, says, quote, Steam wishlists are one of the most important pre-release metrics for PC games. What makes them important is that Steam account holders are willing to click on the I want to be reminded about this game option. Obviously, a small percentage of these might be from people who are less interested. But once you start getting up into the hundreds of thousands or low millions, it is fairly indicative of interest. And if I switch over now to the top wishlisted games as of right now, we can see some pretty big hitters at the top there. Dying Light 2 at number 1, New World, Battlefield 2042, Back 4 Blood. A bit further down we have Total War Warhammer 3, Stalker 2. So some pretty big AAA games, but also some notable indie titles as well, like Party Animals, Hollow Knight, Silksong. We get down a bit further, Dwarf Fortress. We can see other big hitters, Forza Horizon 5, Elden Ring. So a great mix, and if we jump back over to the analysis here, there's just a great sort of take on the variety and healthy picture it paints for PC gaming. Dhayana, we've just mentioned that we're big Xbox fans, but have you dabbled a lot in PC gaming in the past?
Not at all. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I grew up with PC games. But in saying that, I grew up in Malaysia where almost everything is a knockoff. So
Right.
I don't know if it was meant to be a PC game or not, but I played it on PC.
Nice. So just a great deal of variety here. We go down to this section here where there's their notes. There's a good parity between big and small games. About 30 of the top 100 wishlisted games by my categorization. This is from Evan. From big established studios, this includes stuff like Icarus from DayZ creator Dean Hall, Atomic Heart, Age of Empires 4, and even Farming Simulator 22, which can loosely consider an established franchise at this point. The remaining games, so 70% of these remaining games, are from smaller teams. Timberborn, a Lumberpunk city building game all about beavers. Plenty of others as well, like Scorn, and a smattering of noun simulators. At number 5 and 6, obviously we noted Party Animals and Hollow Knight Silksong. Now, Diana, I remember you mentioned you came on board as an Xbox fan not too long ago, 2015 you mentioned, but I remember back when in the 360 days, it was really just like you're either a retail game at 100 Australian dollars or you're a tiny downloadable Xbox Live arcade game. And yeah, that was kind of how we got our indie titles, only like a smattering of options scattered throughout the year. But based on this list, we're seeing, a huge amount of indie titles, 70% of the top 100 being the most wishlisted of everything on Steam. So when you look at that, how do you think this paints the picture of PC gaming?
I think it really shows that indie games have so much value to them. A lot of indie games obviously are cheaper, they're more accessible. It's the kind of game that you can either really sink so many hours into or really just chill out to as well. A lot of indie games are cozy games. So you have like your Stardew Valleys and, even I would take Animal Crossing as kind of an indie game. And so a lot of these titles, which are obviously coming out more and more, really attributes to the whole, people just love playing games, and how do you get access to the AAA games, which tend to be so big that you need to have a really good computer to run it. You need to have, a Series X to have the full graphics, and all the intricacies that go with it. Whereas indie games, anyone can play indie games. You don't have to be one of those hardcore gamers. You can be a beginner and a noob like me and still enjoy the game. So I think it really shows that there's so much value to indies.
Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree. I think you nailed it right. It's they can reach so many more people because they often don't demand a lot hardware wise. So you don't need to be chasing the latest 30 series from Nvidia to enjoy games like Party Animals or Hollow Knight Silksong. I do think you obviously see at the top of the wish list some big, like Hollow Knight is the sequel, or I think expansion, maybe a bit of both, to a very successful indie title. So this is an established team that obviously has a massive following as well. If we go down a bit further, you can see games like Bright Memory Infinite, I believe made by one person or a very small team at the very least. That was shown off at one of Xbox's Series X reveal events also. So these smaller games can sometimes be boosted by big publishers and platform holders. I see Stray here as well. That's obviously been shown off a lot by PlayStation also. So yeah, but I think it just speaks to the fact that yeah, we're at a point now where any studio of any size can find success across a variety of different platforms, whether it be on Steam, partnering with ID at Xbox or Nintendo's indie programs. PlayStation, I think has a bit of a way to go to really get back that the indie love that they have from that side of the industry. We've seen in recent times that they've been criticized a lot for their most recent practices. So yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see on that front. But yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Interesting for me here, number 2, New World, an MMO from Amazon Studios. This is yeah, interesting because a lot of people sort of jumping onto this one from the World of Warcraft sort of community, wanting that next big new fresh MMO to dive into. Yeah, I find that fascinating that there's a lot of interest coming from Amazon, who don't have a track record, not a bad track record or a good track record, just no track record in gaming at this point. So yeah, I know it's been delayed a lot, but yeah, is that the sort of game that speaks to you at all, or not the type of person to dive into MMO?
Really my kind of thing, unfortunately, MMOs. I mean, I know of them. I know Final Fantasy is a huge one, Warcraft, obviously, but no, never really got into them.
No, me either. I remember like deciding not to because I'm afraid I'd get hooked. I don't want that to happen. So it's for my own health that I choose not to play those games.
Fair enough.
Interesting. I just want to jump back over to the story and scroll down a bit here. There was an interesting piece on the fact that zombie games, seemingly, or still, games featuring dead people, including like vampire games as well, still, alive and kicking well. We see Dying Light 2, Back for Blood in, first place and fourth place. Also, obviously, Dying Light, a franchise that's been on hiatus for a long time and has a bit of a cult following, and Back for Blood, the follow-up to the team that make Left 4 Dead. So that featuring there makes complete sense. But yeah, no, really, really interesting. Here we have Deathloop as well, thriving. They say less thriving than we'd like. I think it ranks only sitting at 38, below games like Frostpunk 2 as well. So I do know that Arcane's games in particular have struggled to find an audience. They don't sell particularly well. They're critically acclaimed. But yeah, games like Dishonored and Prey, they typically don't reach a massive audience. So yeah, he's hoping that they can on PlayStation and hopefully a year later on Game Pass as well. I think that was it. Yeah, were there any others that jumped out to you, Dhayana, that you sort of noted here were of interest?
I mean, for me, it's really interesting to see like Forza Horizon and, games that are going to be on Xbox also be a heavy hitting game on Steam. Because you'd think that now with Game Pass, it would make more sense to just pay a subscription and then have access to all these new games rather than having to buy them on Steam. But nope, it's still as popular on Steam as well. So people are willing to buy these games.
Yeah, it's something I chatted about,
price for it.
I think on the last episode or maybe a few weeks ago, and that seeing a game like Sea of Thieves in the Steam charts very regularly, as well as Forza Horizon 4. There was one week there where like it ranked twice because of 2 separate editions that made the top 5 or the top 10, which was pretty crazy. So we know that Forza Horizon is a huge success. I think it's eclipsed 25 million players across Xbox and PC at this point. So Horizon 5, November 9, already at 44,000 wishlisted here on Steam as well. And we know it'll be a huge success on Game Pass also. So yeah, look, just a great deal of variety. As someone who's, only picked up a gaming PC in the last few years, Steam's something I'm more and more becoming invested in and picking up games there also, just because it has like this huge amount of variety that sometimes doesn't feature on console, right? So yeah, really excited to see how this plays out and if, the interest here actually translates into real world sales. Yeah, he's hoping all these games can live up to expectations as well. But if we're just talking about like, most anticipated games, do any particular titles jump to the top of your list, Diana?
Well, actually, Horizon 5 is definitely on the top of my list. That and Halo, obviously. Halo Infinite will definitely be a game that I will just hide myself in the room and just play continuously all of summer. Those are the two big things. I think next year is when a lot of the games that I want to play are releasing. So it'll be really interesting to see how much I can save for next year.
Speaking of next year, that's a perfect transition into our second story, and that is the current slate of 2022 and the fact that Horizon Forbidden West from PlayStation will be joining the 2022 calendar of releases. We head on over to Push Square, where Robert Ramsey has this story. He says, Horizon Forbidden West, pardon me, tripping over my words. Release date set for February 2022 on PS5 and PS4. The game got a surprise development update during Gamescom Opening Night Live 2021. While we didn't get to see any new footage, developer Guerrilla Games confirmed that what we've all been thinking, the game won't make it out this year after all. However, we did get a defined release date, February 18th, 2022, which is roughly to exactly 5 years after Horizon Zero Dawn launched. That game got a patch as well that's updated to make it 60 frames per second on PS5. So those Horizon fans can go back and enjoy that in 60 frames per second glory on their brand new console as well. So we spoke about this a few weeks ago when it was rumored, Diana. But what do you think this means for Horizon and PlayStation in general, right? Like, this is their big launch slipping out of 2021 into the new year. They've really, the big exclusive they'll be pushing are things like Deathloop and Kenna Bridge of Spirits. Whereas on the Xbox side we have Halo and Forza. Do you think that's a big deal?
I think so, for the PlayStation 5 especially. I mean, obviously Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart came out this year, and that was a big deal for PlayStation because it's the very first game that you can really enjoy all the benefits of the PS5 with. So I'm really keen for Horizon because it's going to be... I love games like Horizon. Anything that has action, adventure, that kind of sci-fi kind of feel as well. And couple that with the graphics of the PS5 and all the capabilities, it's just going to be such a fantastic game that I'm actually quite worried when it comes out in February because I can't take time off in February. So I'm going to have to sneak in some late nights.
I think so, yeah. You mentioned, the fact that 2022 is already looking so jam-packed. Jonathan Dornbush over at IGN popped out this tweet, which I thought did just a good summary of just what early 2022 looks like at the moment. Hello to Dame Duty Dench in chat as well. Thank you so much for joining us. So we have in the first 3 or so months, Elden Ring, Ghostwire Tokyo, Horizon Forbidden West now, Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga, Pokemon Legends Arceus, which I think is January, Marvel's Midnight Suns, Nobody Saves the World, which is from the makers of Guacamelee, Drinkbox Studios that is, Rainbow Six Extraction from Ubisoft, the new Saints Row, which just got announced, Salt and Sacrifice, and two big indie hitters for PlayStation in Sifu and Stray as well. So yeah, already, like, they're sizable games coming in the first 3 months, and who knows, maybe we'll get some more also. And by no means is this list comprehensive as well. We have other games, like massive titles confirmed for 2022. We were just discussing them before the show, Diana. Things like Starfield, Redfall from Bethesda. We have other massive titles. I sort of categorize them in my head. Oh, that's right, the Square Enix, the Warner Brothers Interactive stuff. We have Suicide Squad and Gotham Knights also. Could 2022 be like one of the best years for gaming, do you think?
Trust. I mean, I think we've all waited such a long time to have AAA titles to play on a console. I mean, obviously same with Xbox, with the Series X launching last year with no console exclusives. It's going to be really nice to finally get a lot of these big heavy hitting games that we can really sink our teeth into. Obviously with PlayStation, we had, Demon's Souls last year and Spider-Man Miles Morales, which were great games, but they weren't exclusive to the PS5. So I think it'll be really, really interesting going into 2022 to finally get a lot of PS5 exclusive titles that we can really play and enjoy.
Yeah, well, here's hoping they have a few, right? Also, hello to Neomir in chat. He mentions, Breath of the Wild 2. So that's one that just completely fell out of my mind. Massive game for Nintendo, also slated for 2022. So currently, we know that Forbidden West and God of War and Gran Turismo 7 will all be PS4 titles, not PS5 exclusive. I think Ghostwire Tokyo which is from Bethesda, again, ironically, will be a big PS5 exclusive. And I think Forspoken as well from Square Enix is currently slated for 2022 as well. I'd have to double check if that's PS4 or PS5 only. But yeah, no, like they already too have a stacked lineup. Maybe we see something like Forza Motorsport from Xbox as well. And here's, we don't know yet what some of their big exclusives that they've already announced, like, but maybe Avowed in 2022 if that can sneak in. Some smaller titles as well, like As Dusk Falls, which they announced last year also. So yeah, I'm looking at 2022 and I'm worried about how much time I'm going to have to play all these games, which is a good problem to have, right? Like I think as long as they spread them out, I think that's the key thing, right? I enjoy how, we'll get to in a moment, but Xbox is sort of pacing these launches. We see Psychonauts 2 in August, and then Age isn't until October, Forza in November, Halo in December. So yeah, I like that as well. Horty Chicken, thanks for joining us, says get those holiday requests in early. Yeah, no, you're not wrong as well. I think just gift cards, right, Diana, for all the 2022 games, so you can get those pre-orders down.
That'll be my Christmas wish list. Yeah. Just give me gift cards.
Pretty much. Look, I think that was it on the 2022 roadmap. But Diana, we touched on it recently, just before the show also, and that was just how 2021 was and the release schedule was affected by COVID. Do you anticipate we might get into 2022 and see some of these games that we just spoke of be pushed back even further? Obviously, a lot of other countries outside of Australia are actually dealing with the pandemic a bit better than we are currently. Dame, thanks so much for the follow. But do you think we see more delays potentially because of COVID still going forward?
Really hard to say. I mean, we thought we were fine in Australia earlier this year, so it's really tough to kind of say whether it'll go one way or the other, because COVID's been so unpredictable. I mean, every plan has basically had to be cancelled and postponed and delayed. And I mean, yes, cinemas are opening up around the world, but people are still very hesitant to go out. So it'll be a different thing where I guess if we're back in lockdowns again and things like that, who knows, the games might come out and make our lives so much better because we'll have things to play and things to do. But it really depends on whether people can go back into work, whether, there's going to be any crunch time to make sure that the game is fully developed rather than cyberpunk. I'll just say cyberpunk and leave it at that. So yeah, it's really hard to predict, I would say. I don't think I can predict anything anymore based on the current situations.
No, I think you'd be foolish to try, right? Especially in these circumstances. But it's funny you mentioned cyberpunk, and I think that's sort of been a huge red flag to the wider industry as well, right? Firstly, that you should be afraid to delay your games if you need to, or because the community will understand, and that's the last thing anyone wants, right? Like another cyberpunk situation where a massively anticipated title launches day one, it's just nowhere near meeting the expectations of the fan base. So look, even if a couple of those games in 2022 get delayed, it's still going to be absolutely jam-packed. And if anything, this year I've actually enjoyed the somewhat vacant window we had at the start of this year, where there are a couple of games releasing here and there, like Hitman and whatnot, and Resident Evil, that sort of thing. But man, I had so much time to go back to my backlog and enjoy some titles that I've been really meaning to get to, and some fantastic games, particularly on the indie front that we've just noted as well. Like recently, I've almost finished Death's Door, which I definitely will. That's probably sitting as my game of the year right now. I've started the original Psychonauts in preparation for 2, so I need to finish that before I dive into the sequel. Just quickly, what's been occupying your playtime? During this first half of the year, in particular, when things weren't dropping so often.
To be very honest, Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing was one of those games where, I got very invested in the turnip markets. I was buying and selling lots of them, and it was the kind of game that was perfect for lockdown because it just takes your mind away from everything that was going on. I mean, at that point in time, at the start of the year, things were opening up again. So I actually didn't play too many games because I was actually going out and trying to enjoy my new country since I just moved and I haven't had a chance to obviously fully explore Melbourne. So I didn't play a lot of games other than Animal Crossing.
That's all right. That's all right. So, sometimes I go through those phases where I just don't play much. I've had it recently, actually, and I don't know if you might be able to relate to this, where the Halo Infinite tech preview was launched, and I was fortunate enough to get access, and I played it. And then for that following week, I was really depressed. Halo was the only thing I wanted to play, and I was really sad that I couldn't play Infinite anymore, and nothing else would do. I was like, no, I have no desire to play any other game right now. So I got a bit sad. But no, that's all right. Anyway, let's move on to the final topic of the top three, and that is breaking down all of the announcements out of Gamescom Opening Night Live. So this is I suppose, the hallmark stream that industry sort of legend at this point, Jeff Keighley, puts together in association with the Gamescom organization, and brings together a whole lot of massive publishers and platform holders to make a huge amount of announcements. We've seen him really polish things like the Game Awards recently to be this seminal moment in the gaming calendar that everyone can rally behind, and understand that they come together and can expect some big announcements. But I was, before we dive into it, I was really impressed with what he was able to pull off, particularly getting announcements from huge publishers. You saw Ubisoft, Xbox, PlayStation, EA, Square, all in there. But anyway, we head on over to Press Start. They have, as always, a fantastic write-up on all the announcements. We won't dive deep into all of them because it was, I think, an hour and a half or 2 hour show. So plenty of juicy details to dive into, and I'll link this one in the chat as well, so you guys can see all the announcements for yourself if you haven't done so already. But first and foremost, one of the big announcements was a rebooted Saints Row coming in February 2022. So another one of those early titles. Obviously, it's a franchise that's been around for a very long time, and definitely leaned into the crazy as it got on, but now seems to be pulling back a bit, and being more about the sort of gangs and territory control, and still a little bit over the top, but nowhere near as much as being the superhero president of the United States, which I think is great. Diana, have you played the Saints Row games, and any interest in this one?
I actually haven't played the Saints Row game, but I had it described to me as GTA but on drugs. So I was really obviously taken with this particular trailer because I didn't have that background of playing the older games. So for me, it was like, oh wow, this is a cool new game for me to experience without that knowledge of all the things, all the crazy that was behind it from previous games. So yeah, no, I have not experienced all of that before.
Yeah, so the first game, someone in chat will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this came out in 2006. It was like the first Saints Row, that is, pardon me. That was within the first year of the Xbox 360's life cycle, and definitely was like gangs, and you're playing as like a gang member, and leaned into the GTA San Andreas vibes, right, where you're taking territory control in this city, so your gang can obviously become more successful and more powerful, and you're having these rivalries between other gangs in the city as well. So this definitely seems to be leaning more into this, and I really enjoy that sort of thing, like the mechanic in San Andreas of occupying different blocks in the town or the city, and that meant, your gang was more successful or has access to more resources. I think is a really interesting mechanic, and I would like to see it explored not only in like a gang setting, but maybe in just more like a action strategy type way as well. So I've seen like a lot of sentiment online saying, it's like, oh, I don't know if this is the Saints Row that I want anymore, because obviously it leaned into the crazy as the series got older, but no, I'm actually really excited that this is a bit more grounded and something that isn't quite cringy, if I can say that as well. Like, I feel as though sometimes it can seem a bit too try hard also. I know, is that the sort of thing that can turn you off like it does me?
It depends on the story, I would say, if there is a story.
Yeah,
I don't mind a little crazy. I don't mind a little bland either.
Anyway, another big announcement from Gamescom Opening Night Live was Marvel's Midnight Suns, which is a new tactical RPG from the XCOM developers, Fireaxes. It features all your favorite Marvel characters, including the X-Men and Blade, and is coming in March 2022. There's a worldwide gameplay debut coming on September 1st as well. So just in a few days, you're able to see gameplay. Fireaxes, a very talented studio known for XCOM, which is a hallmark, I would say probably the probably the best turn-based tactics franchise going at the moment, and definitely in like that upper echelon as one of the series that you rattle off when you talk about the best turn-based tactics games available on the market today. So yeah, like how do you feel? Obviously, we've gotten some fantastic Marvel games in recent history, Dhayana, things like Spider-Man. I would say Avengers, but I'm not sure many people describe it as fantastic. I know a lot of people enjoy it, but obviously it wasn't critically received that well. But when you hear about Marvel Midnight Suns and a turn-based game, tactical, how do you feel about that one?
Speak to the tactical aspects of the game because I am not personally a fan of those kinds of games. For me, though, I was sold when it was announced that it was a Marvel game. I'm a huge Marvel fan. As soon as I saw like Iron Man, Ghost Rider, Blade, I mean, to even have Ghost Rider and Blade in a video game is amazing because you generally only see like your core Avengers and then Wolverine because for some reason there's 1,000 different characters in the Marvel universe, but there's always Wolverine. So I'm a bit disappointed that it was him that was chosen, not like Gambit or Rogue or Dark Phoenix or any of the other X-Men. But yeah, to have like all these other characters that aren't normally utilized as much is actually really cool. And I love to see how they kind of interact from a top-down kind of tactical aspect. I'm assuming it's going to be top-down just like XCOM. So I guess we'll see on September 1st and then I'll decide from there.
Yeah, I think what's most interesting at this one for me is the fact that now I might be wrong here, but I believe when I watched the stream back, it was they were talking about how the fact that Firaxis are actually able to create their brand new superhero for this game that will live like in Marvel canon as well, and that's the character that you play and create and sort of customize. So I find that truly fascinating as well. I think Hunter is their name. I'd have to again look through in more of the details, but yeah, first and foremost, like I haven't been a huge turn-based tactics fan for a very long time, until probably, actually, now that I think about it, it has been a while. There was a game back in 2013 called Skulls of the Shogun, and this was a quirky but fun, very simple turn-based tactics game on Xbox Live Arcade that I tried out and fell in love with. And then knew that I needed to get into more, so I tried Massive Chalice, which was a turn-based tactics game from Double Fine, actually. This was released back in 2014, 2015, one of their Kickstarted games. And then the game that really made me fall in love with turn-based tactics was Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle on the Switch, which put a really fun twist on the formula as well. So yeah, funnily enough, I'm yet to go check out any of the XCOMs, which I know I need to. But yeah, when I see Marvel and turn-based tactics, that actually gets me really, really excited. Yeah, I would love for other genres to be introduced to me that way. Like there are still some other game genres that I have no interest in just because I'm not used to them or whatever. But if an IP can attach themselves to that genre in a way that could really lure me in, then I think like you, like because it's Marvel, you're probably going to try this one out.
Yeah.
I'm like that with fighting games. I've never been into fighting games, but maybe yeah, even Marvel vs. Capcom or Injustice has never drawn me in either.
Oh, you're missing out.
Yeah, I've heard good things about those stories. Have you played them?
Yeah, I'm very big on my fighting games. Started with Mortal Kombat, and obviously Injustice is huge because, again, I'm a comic book nerd. So DC Comics obviously has a really, really dark story in Injustice. So, yeah, no, fighting games for me is how I just relieve my stress by button mashing my way through. So, I would highly recommend it.
Nice. One of the other big announcements we got out of opening night live was actually of Halo, something that didn't show up at the Xbox stream, but instead this opening night live stream, which was really, really interesting. We got this cool CGI cinematic trailer for the season 1 of the multiplayer. It features, I'm forgetting her name, but the commander that's basically training a lot of the new Spartan 4s in Halo Infinite, and will be sort of like your commander in the training multiplayer area, which you can see on screen right now. But yeah, interestingly, this one not at the Xbox stream. We finally got a release date, December 8, which is definitely later than I expected. But firstly, Dhayana, Halo, have you managed to, since your time becoming an Xbox fan, go back and play them all, experience the franchise?
I've not gone back. No, I started with Halo 5 and I've kind of just moved forward.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, Halo 5 and then obviously the next one, Halo Infinite, would be my next foray. But I mean, I did try the technical preview and I have to say the multiplayer was amazing. As much as I died and respawned a bazillion times. It was really good. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was it feels like classic Halo, but still modern at the same time. So, like I said, I got done at the end of the tech preview when it was no longer available and was visibly distraught. I was not happy that I could not be playing this game much longer. We do know that a big team battle tech preview is on its way. We don't know exactly when. He's hoping in the next few weeks we get some visibility on that as well. But Diana, like this, we'll touch on it again in a bit as well. But the Xbox stream didn't feature Halo. Instead, as part of Jeff Keighley's show. How do you feel about that? Because there was a lot of, I suppose, disappointment that Halo wasn't shown the day before, and we were left wondering, like, when are we going to see it finally?
I mean, to be very honest with you, I didn't mind that it wasn't in the Xbox stream. I kind of figured that sometime during Gamescom it would be announced. Obviously, I had already seen leaks of the date. Someone had put up the Microsoft Store listing.
Yeah.
So, with Xbox, as soon as there's a leak, there's an announcement. So I knew that we'd see something of the sort. I actually think that Xbox did it really well because obviously the Xbox stream was focused on Forza. So having Halo in there may have detracted a little bit from Forza. So I think the strategy here was actually really well done because now people have, Forza, got really excited about the controller, spent all their money pre-ordering the new controller, for example, or the game and all that. And then we had the Halo announcement with new hardware, a date, and I mean, as an Xbox fan, it was very stressful, but also very exciting. The last 24 hours has been nuts.
Yeah, you mentioned. I think I tend to agree as well, right? Like, I haven't seen the viewership numbers, but I assume that the opening night live viewership would have been stronger than Xbox's stream. Now, a lot of people would disagree, but you should know, like, the Game Awards and the summer kickoff gaming fest, I forget the name of the E3 one that Jeff Keighley puts together, that viewership has been growing really strongly year on year. So I think it's a safe bet that this was always going to perform strongly also. And also you're reaching non-Xbox fans here, right? Like it's fair to say that people tuning into the Xbox event are Xbox fans. They know about Halo, they're excited about Halo, but this gets people, who aren't there, looking for Xbox content necessarily, visibility. It gets their eyes on this content as well. You mentioned the hardware, and I have it up on screen right now, the 20th anniversary of both Xbox and Halo this year, on November 15. We got this, what I describe as a gorgeous console. I know it's somewhat divided online, but I think it's stunning. I understand the criticism that it doesn't necessarily feel like Halo, but man, I really like this one. Diana, how do you feel?
I mean, the fact that I don't have a Series X already makes me love it. I think that it's so unique and different to other consoles in the past. I mean, it's so crisp and clear. It's not overly outrageous. I mean, I have the Cyberpunk Xbox One X, and you can tell that a lot of work has gone into trying to make it subtle. And it's a kind of console that you can display and have your friends who are non-gamers come over and actually look at it and not go, "Ooh, what's that?"
Right.
It's subtle enough, but at the same time, it's so cleverly done. And the controller that comes with the console, I would say that is exceptional. It's just so clever that it almost looks like the lock controller that came with the Xbox Halo 5.
That's it. Yeah, that was silver too, right? Yeah, silver and blue.
Yeah.
Like his armor.
So I'm not sure if there's going to be a story kind of tied to the design of the console and the controller. There's always a story, and so I'm really keen to see what that story is. And obviously, as an Xbox fan, I had to go and secure it. Unfortunately, it was all sold out by 5 o'clock, I think, in the morning. It was gone.
Yeah.
And then I think we had retailers put them up, and within seconds, all gone.
Yeah, you have to assume that the allocation was pretty tight for this console. Like, even just plain Series X hardware is very hard to come by. But look, Diane, I'm sure, give it till next week or sometime in November, you'll be able to pick one up on eBay for like $1,500. So don't worry about that. You got plenty of time to save.
It's just like a house deposit,
Yeah, it's fine. Exactly. Just second mortgage. It's all right. That wasn't the only hardware that they revealed, though. We also had the Series 2, the Elite Series 2 wireless controller, Halo Infinite Limited Edition, as I rattle off that incredibly long name. This one very inspired by Spartan117 himself, Master Chief. Green and gold and orange, looking absolutely gorgeous. I very fortunately got my hands on this one, pre-ordered at JB Hi-Fi that morning, and am stoked with its design. I have the Series 1 controller that I picked up way back in 2015, but have not upgraded since. I didn't jump on the Series 2. So a lot of people holding off because maybe Series 3 is just around the corner, but when a controller looks that gorgeous, Diana, I can't help myself.
Yeah. I mean, you must have seen my controller collection. I can't help myself with any of them. I can't even tell you how many are just sitting around, just looking pretty and not being used, because it's way too many to choose from.
Yeah, definitely. I'll quickly get to the chat. Dame Duty Gent says, not a huge Halo fan, but that limited edition console and controller are beautiful. Jason Neon Mirror says, it looks pretty. And Dame again, great looking controller. I hope they do something when Gears releases too, like they did with Gears 4. Yeah, Gears, one of those series that also gets a lot of great custom controllers as well. I recall way back, I think the Gears Ultimate Edition in 2015, there was like a red Elite Series 1 controller, and also a Kate sort of ice console one as well, like the One X console, which was gorgeous way back then in what was that, 2019 or so. So yeah, really, really excited to see what they do for Gears moving forward as well. Anyway, yeah, so some good announcements, and we got obviously the release date for Halo as well. December, Diana. This is later than I think a lot of people were hoping for and expected for Halo. I've definitely got thoughts, but I'm keen to hear from you. This is obviously after Black Friday. It's after the cutoff for the Game Awards as well. What are your thoughts on a December launch for the next Halo?
I have a sneaking suspicion that it's been delayed a month just to make sure it's absolutely perfect. I'd like to think that that's why. Because obviously the 20th anniversary is in November. It makes sense to release in November, but the fact that it's coming out in December, you have to think that, either they're trying to avoid another clash with maybe another release. I mean, I'm not sure what's releasing in November, but, I have to imagine that it's got to be something big to make it shift out of that November slate, because obviously Christmas is around the corner. December 8 is very close to Christmas when you want to start buying gifts for people. Early December, you're going to start panicking because most things are either run out of stock, or, there's just crazy chaos everywhere. Black Friday sales are over. What are you going to do? And I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure why it was pushed out to December, unless they are trying to avoid any sales because they want to charge full price for it. But it's available on Game Pass, so technically it's going to be free. So
yeah, no, you touched on some interesting points there. I think at least for me, like this at least initially when I read this news, I was a bit concerned. Like at the end of last week, we got the news just after the last episode of the Question Box actually got done recording, the fact that that campaign co-op and Forge will be missing day one launch of Halo Infinite. Campaign co-op will come in season 2, which will be 3 months after the launch of the game. So we can expect it in early March or thereabouts. And then Forge will be arriving in season 3, which will be 6 months after launch. So you're looking at early June for that as well. I think it's a massive deal that Forge isn't there at launch. I do know there's a dedicated Forge community that would very much love to see it there at launch, so they can get creating some amazing maps. I think it is a pretty big deal that campaign co-op isn't there at launch. It's been a seminal part of the Halo experience, dating all the way back to the original 20 years ago this year. And that's how many Halo fans have enjoyed the campaign. Now, look, I think, to your point, I think they're really just focused on shipping a great game. But I would have expected this in November still, right? To our point earlier, getting in before Black Friday, but still distancing themselves enough away from things like Forza Horizon 5 on November 9, and then also Call of Duty Vanguard, which lands on November 5th, which we were waiting for the release on recently as well. So, yeah, I see this and I'm I'm a bit concerned that this game's coming in real hot. Like it's coming down to the wire, and they just need all the time they can get. Obviously, yeah, the pandemic hasn't helped, and they're making the game for hardware released in 2013 with the Xbox One, right, all the way up to, you know, the most high end of PCs also. So yeah, I'm just fingers crossed they get this one right. Yeah, I'm most keen to hear from you guys in chat as well. Like, how do you feel about a December launch for Halo? Are you a bit concerned? Are you at all saddened by the fact that co-op campaign won't be there? I myself love to play Halo campaigns first by myself on Heroic, and then I dive into like a legendary run on campaign after the fact. So yeah, so we'll kind of see how that all plays out. But yeah, look, giving themselves more time to create the best game they can is never a bad thing, right? So yeah, I think that's probably the biggest silver lining to come from this rather late release for Xbox. But we're just gonna have to wait and see on that front. Anyway, that'll do it for the first half of the show of our top 3. Again, share your thoughts in chat. Just like Dame Duty Dent has, they say, I think it's fine because it's away from other releases. If it released around COD or Battlefield, it might get lost in there with these games. Yeah, Diana, you know, obviously this is the first time that Halo is going to have free-to-play multiplayer as well, right? So I think that certainly bodes well for it in terms of going up against big competition. Do you think that if it landed in November that it might struggle against those bigger titles? Like you said, it's going into Game Pass, right? And it'll be readily accessible to what we assume would be more than 20 million subscribers at this point. So yeah, how do you think that it would have gone in November?
Well, I think it depends on the strategy. Are they trying to release it for Xbox fans, or are they trying to open it up to people who might not have played an Xbox game before or might not be familiar with Halo? So it really depends on what that strategy is. I would assume that if it is looking to, I guess, promote it to Xbox gamers, the fact that, you know, it comes out in November or December, it doesn't really matter. People are going to pick it up. But if you're going to be comparing it to obviously your Forzas and your Call of Duties and all the other games that might be slated around that time, it's going to be a hard sell, because obviously Halo is an Xbox exclusive. It's not one that's readily available on, say, your PS5s or PS4s. So I think the challenge there is really trying to get it away from other games and having it in its own kind of slot in that December month, because generally most games don't really release in December. Movies don't release in December, so you kind of have all that time, and also it's the holidays, right, during Christmas and all that. You're going to have plenty of time to sink into Halo and really dedicate yourself. So I think it could be a bit of that at play as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like you mentioned, movies as well. Like they typically don't release in December except for like Boxing Day, right? Like you see like some big releases on Boxing Day, but in the lead up, not too much. Yeah, I totally see your point, right? Like I remember saying that I predicted Halo Infinite for November 23. I thought it was sensible because it was before Black Friday, right? So, you know, a lot of people are going to be playing this game via Game Pass, but a lot of people will still buy it either digitally or physically. And so if there's a chance that, you know, mums and dads are in shops this holiday and they're looking to pick up a new console, the fact that a big new Halo game is available with their brand new console can sway a lot of people. They want to know what are the newest games, the big games that everyone's playing that they can get for their kids or for themselves, of course. So yeah, I think that's why I was kind of leaning towards a late November release. And also, to your point, keeping away from those other big titles. Halo, obviously a very different game to Forza. So in terms of genre overlap, it's almost non-existent. But to the discussion we've been having for the longest time around Game Pass, right? Like you have this highly engaged, captive audience who's going to jump on each new release as it drops into the subscription service. You don't want any subscriber to need to decide what am I going to play this week, right? So I think separating them as best they can will prove beneficial for any and all of those titles. Like it's going to benefit Forza and it's going to benefit Halo, because a month after most people, you know, most of the casual fans are kind of done with Forza, they can pop that aside and then jump into Halo. So I think, yeah, smart for December on that end. But yeah, I am just a just a touch concerned about how much time they're trying to give themselves to get this game across the line. So I guess we'll wait and see. Anyway, like I said, that'll wrap up our top 3 news stories for the week. We'll dive now into question time. We're going to bring in the Xbox Gamescom stream that happened just the other day. You had noted, Diana, before the show that you got up. Was it 3 a.m., 4 a.m. for this one?
3 a.m. Yep.
Yep. So
I was up at 2, but yeah, 3 a.m.
We'll dive shortly into all the announcements, but firstly, yeah, what was your anticipation level going to this one? Obviously, Xbox did well to manage expectations, saying don't expect any big announcements. We're focusing on the 2021 lineup. Yeah, how did you feel going into this one?
I mean, to be honest, anything Xbox, whether it's, just some random guy on stage talking about nothing to releasing gameplay videos, I'll be excited either way. It's Xbox, I'm excited. So I was just really keen to get up early and just watch the show. Obviously, a lot of the community were up already because a lot of them are in the States and Europe. So I just really like delving into that hype with them and joining them in just being so hyped up and energetic and celebrating everything Xbox. So for me, it was more about that than the actual showcase.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I was excited either way.
Nice. Yeah, I had tempered my expectations, definitely. I think because we obviously got the announcement that Paris Lily and Kate Rayner were hosting this one, I sort of had anticipated that this showcase would be similar to the Xbox Extended Showcase from E3, which sort of more long form, sit down interview style, delving deeper into those games where we spend a good 5-10 minutes on each title, and not like the Xbox Bethesda Game Showcase, which was just 60 minutes, 60 minutes of just announcement, 30 games, 27 of them in Game Pass. I definitely wasn't expecting that. Before we dive into our thoughts on the overall show and how it all played out, we'll jump back over to Press Start again, where the fantastic team over there have a great write-up from Brody Gibbons. They break it all down. Again, we won't go into every single announcement, but we'll touch upon the big ones. Brody says, Forza Horizon 5 still looks gorgeous, and I have to agree. It's looking to be a visual showcase for the Xbox platform this holiday. Launches on November 9. We got a chunky 8-minute gameplay demonstration showing off a bunch of new cars coming to the game, as well as revealing the key art, which something we didn't get at E3. Yeah, Diana, a huge release for Xbox this year. We just noted earlier that Forza Horizon 4 eclipsed 25 million players, which is absolutely insane. I think Forza Horizon 3 had over 10 million players as well a few years after launch, so it is growing exponentially at this rate. Yeah, where are you at for Forza Horizon 5? And I'm keen, I want to get a prediction from you. Do you think it gets nominated for Game of the Year? But firstly, how are you feeling about Forza?
Ooh. I'm really excited for Forza. I absolutely loved the announcement trailer, and obviously getting to see the first 8 minutes of gameplay was just so stunning. The cars are fantastic. The environments are amazing. Getting to ride through a dust storm, absolutely chuffed for that one. Yeah, I think it's going to be the game that I spend a lot of time on, especially because I absolutely loved Flight Simulator and just sitting down and exploring new worlds and things like that. So I think because I've never been to Mexico and I've been really keen to go, I think it's a very interesting game to satisfy my need to travel at this point in time and actually see new sites and get amongst the different types of culture that comes in with Mexico. And obviously it's going to be very interesting having a lot of that Spanish influence as well. So it'll be cool.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm no massive racing game fan, but I think to Playground and Turn 10's credit, their whole mission statement, at least for Turn 10, is that they want to turn racing fans into gamers and gamers into racing fans or car fans, and I think they've done that with Forza Horizon. It's gotten people who aren't interested in racing games just love jumping in these really, really fun to drive cars, exploring beautiful worlds. And like you, I've never been to Mexico, but I'm keen to just barrel down this volcano like we see them doing right now as well, and just explore what will be probably one of the best looking games of the year. So yeah, I really enjoyed this announcement. Like you said, I think it's definitely the probably like alongside Halo, their biggest launch of the year, right? And they definitely positioned it like that in this showcase. They kept saying throughout the stream, it's like, we've got Forza Horizon 5 coming. It's at the end of the show. Hold on, it's coming. You get really excited.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really, really smart of them. Yeah, like I for one think that Forza Horizon 4 like should have been nominated for Game of the Year way back in 2018. I think it's probably the best racing game ever made. And they just seem to be upping the ante here. So yeah, I want a prediction from you, Diana. Stake your reputation on the line here and now. Will Forza be nominated this year?
I think not.
You think not?
I think not. I think that there are so many good games out there that have a better chance. I mean, Psychonauts 2 would be one of them, for example. I think it really depends on... Yeah, I think not. I think that there are just so many good, thought-provoking games out there that I personally would like to see as Game of the Year winners. So, I mean, you've got Hades as well. I don't know if that's going to just take over the rest of the decade because it's just been a brilliant game.
I'd be all for Hades just winning Game of the Year every year from now on. That's totally fine by me.
To be honest, I'd rather see Flight Simulator get Game of the Year as well because that was very well done. So, yeah, I think... not this one. Maybe Forza Horizon 6.
Oh, man.
Maybe then. Maybe then.
poor Playground. They can't catch a break. I'll quickly get to chat. Dame Duty Dan's very impressed by the Mercedes. Curious to see how the music will work in Forza Horizon 5. Yeah, I'm interested to see how they handle it there as well. Obviously, a game like Forza Horizon 3 delisted from the Microsoft Store because of the licenses for a lot of that real-world music expiring. So he's hoping that they can somehow arrange the licenses so the games can last much longer because, yeah, I want to see these games be readily available for the long term, right? Generations, from now, be able to still play Forza Horizon 5. So fingers crossed on that one. Neon Mirror, Jason, you say, I'd love to see Toyota make it in the car roster. Yeah, this is something he and I have chatted about off stream as well. They can be tricky to get the licenses for. Porsche notoriously was a manufacturer that was difficult to work with from a game developer perspective. And I don't think it was until like 2011 they started allowing started allowing their cars into games. Jason also asked, reckon 12 Minutes will get a Game of the Year nomination. Diana, what say you?
Interestingly, I've heard a lot of negative things about 12 Minutes, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's one of those touch and go type games where it's either a hit or a miss, and I think a lot of the community have essentially said it's a miss. So I highly doubt it's going to get Game of the Year, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I think that's what's probably most interesting about this year. There, at least in my mind, and I think a lot of people would agree, there's no clear front runner just yet. Obviously, Psychonauts 2 seems to be occupying a lot of the conversation right now. But there was very positive conversation about Ratchet and Returnal and Hitman 3 and Resident Evil 8, Death's Door not long ago as well. So, look, I think it's high time, Diana, that Playground Games gets the recognition they deserve. And I think they will be nominated this year. I think so. I'm going to stake my reputation on it. I was wrong with the Halo Infinite release date, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong about this one. We'll just have to wait. We'll just have to wait and see. Dash, thanks so much for joining us, man. Cannot wait for Forza. Yeah. See? A lot of people really excited. So, look, maybe if we were the voting panel, Diana, maybe we could make it happen, but that's probably.
I mean, if it's an Xbox title, I would give it an extra tick.
That's what we'll just be voting for exclusives at that point. Anyway, let's move on now to all the other announcements to come out of the Gamescom showcase from Xbox. Actually, before I move on, how can I forget the glorious controller that they revealed for Forza as well? You spoke earlier saying that 12 Minutes has the gaming community divided at this point. What about this controller? What side do you land on? Because I've heard extremes of both sides saying,
really?
This is the most gorgeous controller ever made, and a lot of people saying this is the most disgusting controller they've ever seen. What do you think?
I actually haven't seen anything negative about this one. Everyone I've seen, and I follow a lot of the Xbox community, and they've all been super positive. A lot of people pre-ordering, which is great. I personally really liked it because, not so much because it's a Forza controller, but because it gives off that Holi kind of vibe. So, the Holi festival that a lot of Indians celebrate. It's a lot of color, it's a lot of fun, it's a lot of joy, it's a lot of... it almost looks like an equality controller as well. So it's kind of got all these different kinds of meaning that you can attach to the controller.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's translucent as well. So translucent controllers are really cool. I mean, I think so in particular.
Yeah.
And I think that the yellow just looks so well because you can actually see the inside of the controller. And Death Stranding on PS4, they came out with a custom yellow controller that looked translucent as well. And that went wild. So I'm not sure why there's a lot of negative sentiment about this controller.
Yeah, I've seen like people say it looks like piss. Just the yellow. I was like, oh my god. And I think it's just like the over the top. Maybe people get like rage vibes, or I don't know what it is, but I love it. Like, yeah, the translucence, like the grips on the back that we see here. I think the Xbox controller is all but perfect at this point. Like, it's just such a great feeling controller. I'm an offset sticks kind of person just because I grew up with Xbox. But yeah, I really like the look of this one. It's yeah, it looks stunning, and I think it just plays into the festival feel, right? Like to your point, you mentioned the Indian celebration and festivals also. So yeah. Anyway, I just thought we might as well touch on that one as well. I think just at least in my mind, Xbox do the best custom controllers. Like they're really. Do you remember the Sea of Thieves one, like the purple one with like the barnacles on it? Oh, I love what they do, like the laser etchings. That's
amazing.
Incredible stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Glow in the dark as well.
Yes, that was great. Anyway, moving down now, we'll just rattle quickly through a couple of these other bits and pieces that Press Start summed up here. We got new, trailer for The Gunk, which is a really interesting looking indie game from the SteamWorld Dig guys. I think it's Image and Form is the name of the developer. Really excited to see more of that one. Didn't get a hard release date, but they say it's on track for December still, so stay away from Halo, The Gunk. That's all I can advise. Otherwise, I won't be playing it. Crusader Kings 3 coming to consoles as well. This was interesting. Stray Blade. Dana, did you see this one? This looks really, really cool. Like more of a cartoony action game. And now I know a lot of people just say this, but I got like Souls-like vibes. I know every game is a Souls-like at this point, but yeah, did this one grab your eye as much as it did mine?
No, not really. This one actually did remind me of a Souls-like game, and that's one of the reasons why I turned my eyes away, because I'm absolutely terrible at Souls-like games, and I refuse to even try.
Attack on Geek, I take that to Tom, says people are saying it's a Rage 2 controller. Yeah, I think it's the pink dust, right? Like it's just very over the top. And yeah, Jason Notes definitely has a lot of color. Anyway, we'll move down now through the stories. State of Decay 2, a game released way back in 2018, getting more DLC. We're going back to Trumbull Valley in the Homecoming DLC, dropping September 1st. I'm a huge State of Decay fan. In fact, as it was happening, you can see the live reaction on my YouTube channel. I noted to my mates Jason and Will that were watching with me, saying, download it back, download it again. We're jumping back in. And yeah, 4 of us jumped in today to just get prepared for the DLC. So yeah, State of Decay, Diana, is something you've explored before?
Yeah, so I played it when it first came out, and it was really one of a kind as someone who's not played the earlier games. And so it was just mind-blowing playing that game. I remember waking up first thing in the morning on the day of launch, and I think it was like 6 a.m. that I started playing it, and it was just an absolutely amazing game. But then I got stuck, as the noob of Australia when it comes to games. I got stuck and I gave up and never went back. It's in my backlog now.
Also, we discussed all of your titles at the start of the show. I feel like a noob of Australia should be like in your Twitter bio at this point.
Yeah, that's about right. I used to have a segment on stream called Noob Girl Plays, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who's ever hashtagged that. So there you go.
There you go. It's yours now. Trademark that. Anyway, yeah, at least interesting for me. State of Decay, like I said, more than 3 years old at this point, and bravo to the team at Undead Labs. They said they surpassed 10 million players, which is a huge milestone for that game as well. Kind of hoping that they don't release any more DLC, because I just want to see that whole team just shift over to State of Decay 3 and get that game out as soon as possible. Because yeah, it is a game I'm so very excited for. I think, we speak a lot about the fact that there are so many zombie games out in the market, right? But there are none quite like State of Decay, which definitely take a more simulation style zombie survival approach to the gameplay mechanics. So yeah, I'm really, really pumped for that one. We also got some more DLC for Wasteland 3, a game from In Exile, a studio that Microsoft acquired way back in 2019. So great to see that game get more support. Also, we know that they're working on a brand new first-person RPG being built on Unreal Engine 5 as well. So yeah, hopefully once they wrap up development on this one, they can move over to that. Now, I'm keen to get your thoughts on this one, Diana. Age of Empires 4. I enjoyed Age of Empires as a kid and went back to number 2, the deluxe edition on PC with mates last year. I think it launched, or maybe it was the year before that. And we would just love jumping into exhibition mats together and versing AI. I'm excited for Age of Empires 4, but this was definitely a weird way to show this title. It was basically like a 3 or 4 minute documentary on trebuchets in the middle of our gaming stream. How did you feel when this one popped up?
I think I might have fallen back asleep, to be honest.
It was like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. It was pretty weird. It had no gelling with the game itself other than just talking about the trebuchet, and I was just like, I'm going back to sleep for a while, close my eyes.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. Like I remember noting the live stream that I really enjoy when games can add educational aspects to their whole experience, right? Like I really, and, take this with a grain of salt because I used to work at Ubisoft, but I love what Ubisoft does with the discovery mode, I think it's called. Yes, that was really bad. I should have known that off the top of my head. For Assassin's Creed, and you can learn about Egypt or one of the other locations of Assassin's Creed because they've all fallen out of my head right now. Ancient Greece for Odyssey. So I love that sort of stuff. I really enjoyed it when, and this is really bad, another Ubisoft title, Valiant Hearts, which released back in 2014. I think it was like a World War II adventure game, very cartoony side scroll. You could like click on different items in the world and learn about like real world history. So there was, I remember vividly one moment learning about like flamethrower infantrymen from World War One, and what role they played, just because like there was a flamethrower character in the game. Yeah, so I like this sort of stuff, but yeah, to your point, I'm just not sure it belongs in a live stream, where we're here to get excited. Like I like to learn, just not, particularly not at 4 o'clock in the morning.
No, not at 4 o'clock in the morning, no.
Anyway, Jason in chat says, learnt more during that segment than 2 years of ancient history at school. So there you go. Bravo to World's Edge, the developers of Age of Empires 4. So anyway, yeah, a bit of a slow point in the stream, but hopefully a learning that they definitely take on board. Moving down now through more of the announcements, we've got some cool indie games, particularly a lot coming from Humble Games as well, which I thought was really cool. Obviously, we've seen Microsoft partner with a lot of independent publishers to get some great games into Game Pass in particular, right, Diana? We've seen Devolver Digital or Annapurna publish a lot of their games day one into Game Pass. So were there any here that jumped out at you as particularly exciting?
To be honest, none of the games really jumped out at me. Like I said, I was falling asleep at that point. But what really sold me was, again, another reason to get Game Pass, because here you are, all of these indie titles are now launching day one on Xbox Game Pass. And if you have a subscription, you literally get almost all the AAA titles coming to Xbox, the indie games, Humble Bundle games. You can't not have Game Pass, if you know what I mean. It's coming to that stage now where it's like, I'm not ever going to pay $100 for a video game anymore. I'll just pay $15.95 a month and be done with it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Like, it's to the point now where I discuss it with mates all the time. Like, who is buying an Xbox in 2021 and not getting Game Pass? Like, I'm sure those people exist, and that, I'm not going to tell you how to use your Xbox, that's for sure. Like, if you just want to play Call of Duty or whatever on an Xbox with your mates, that's totally fine, and you don't want to pay $15 a month, that's also fine. But I just see Game Pass as the key reason to be an Xbox fan now, right? Like, it just offers value, variety, discoverability, obviously just a huge assortment of big AAA games to come from these 23 studios, and obviously it's taking them a while to accrue that talent and actually get the releases rolling. We're starting to see that now with Psychonauts 2 just dropping, and soon we'll have Forza and Halo, and then into 2022 we'll have more games as well, so and beyond. So yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that front. But yeah, I'm just so glad that we see more publishers like Humble Games come into this as well, right? Like I look at some of the really sort of quirkier publishers as well, like Raw Fury. We also noted Devolver Digital, and they're the sorts of things that these games that you might not necessarily hear about were they not for Game Pass, right? Like I'm not sure I would have necessarily known about The Ascent if it wasn't positioned on Xbox's stage so prominently. And look, not a Game of the Year contender in my mind, but a game that I dived into with my mates, and I had a great time. So Hades as well, right? Finding a whole new audience on Game Pass a year after its launch on Switch and PC. So yeah, look, really excited that that's coming. Let's speak just more holistically about the showcase in general. I think pretty negative on a lot of people's sort of opinions on this one, like because it was much slower, didn't have like a lot of huge announcements. So Diana, I just wanted your thoughts on Xbox. Really tried to manage expectations with this one, but it seemingly got away from them. How do you feel about like the reaction, the press conference, the stream in general, and how Xbox might be, I don't know, better be able to communicate in the future?
I think there's any way to better communicate it, to be honest, because like you said, they managed the expectations. They were very clear that there weren't going to be any new announcements. It was all going to be games that have already been shown off and had already been announced. I just think there are some gamers out there who are just desperate for new content, and that's the be all end all with these kinds of showcases. It's just new announcements. We don't want anything else. So I don't know how else they could have better done it, to be very honest with you, other than just have a new game to announce. But I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was really nice to get a deeper look into, say, like Forza, a lot of the different titles that were being shown. It was just nice to kind of reiterate that these are all the different kinds of games that are coming to Xbox. I mean, E3 was a couple of months ago now. People like me, we've kind of just gone on, done other things, and kind of forgotten about all the different games
feels like
that
a
are
lifetime.
coming out.
2 months in game, it's a lifetime, yeah.
When you're in lockdown, it does feel like a lifetime ago. Every day is a loop, and so being reminded of all these other games that are not your core AAA titles and exclusives that are coming to Xbox. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was really nice to get the developers or the key people behind the scenes talking about it as well. You got to have that kind of one-on-one kind of experience, being able to hear what went behind the scenes to make the game, what extras are coming, like having Austria and Germany maps on Flight Simulator, for example. That was a really big thing for me. Even though I've already played the game, I've explored half the world already. It was just really nice to kind of have that deeper insight. And I think real fans would appreciate that.
I align with a lot of what you said. I think I too like when they can dive a bit deeper into these games and give these games more time than they usually would get on, as part of the E3 showcase, which really just like announcement, right? So that's why I enjoyed the showcase extended that they did like a few days after their proper E3 showcase, right? Where they got to sit down and dive more deeply into each of those bigger titles. I was a bit mixed on this one. Like I think overall I enjoyed it, though I said to the boys, like, I'm kind of happy I didn't wake up in the middle of the morning to watch it live. I feel like it could have been tighter, right? Like I think there was a lot of detail in there for a lot of time. Like I think even if you just mentioned like, hey, Age of Empires is coming out really soon, and be excited because we have all these new features like these educational pieces, and just talk about it for like 15-20 seconds. I'm not sure we need to see like 5-minute documentary on a trebuchet. And similarly for like Microsoft Flight Sim, I too am enjoying it. I just downloaded it I showcased it to my brother on the Series X, and because he's moved out now, I've given him, or lent him, I'm not giving it to him, my Series S. And when he came over and we flew over like our house and landed in our street in Microsoft Flight Sim, he was blown away, and he's like, oh, can you download this on my Series S at home? I was like, I didn't anticipate him to be really interested in the game, but he was. And so, so we downloaded that. And tonight, in fact, right now, I'm sure he's still flying around the world trying to find his, favorite locations. I definitely think it's important to showcase these games in a more meaningful way. But I think it just could be tighter overall. And I think the last thing I'll say about expectations as well is that I know Microsoft came out and said don't expect any big new announcements, but I just think in terms of timing. Like I think that it could definitely just be more fine tuned, and also there are just inherent expectations that come along with a stream attached to Gamescom, right? Like Gamescom isn't an event that we typically get big announcements from, but I think most people would expect this to be meaningful in some sort of larger sense. Like this is, a consumer show with huge amounts of fandom and excitement, and it was just small updates on all these other titles. So look, I think that's something Xbox will take away and hopefully learn from. We know they can do fantastic showcases like they did at E3, but yeah, I would kind of like to see them just reassess why they're going to show up at Gamescom. Like, because I feel like this could have been like an inside Xbox, just like a smaller, shorter, more intimate sit down piece, and not positioned as like, hey, here's our big stream for an event like Gamescom. But we'll have to wait and see. Jason, who joined me when we watched it, said he said he did enjoy watching Opening Night Live a bit more than the Xbox Showcase, or maybe because I was watching the Kind of Funny gang watching it. Yeah, they're always fun to watch their live reactions as well. Anyway, that is all for the Gamescom wrap up. Before we close out the show, Dhayana, just how you feel, because before we wrap up, like I'd be remiss without asking you, like your thoughts on Xbox as a whole. Like you mentioned, you're such a huge fan, but and we just touched on Game Pass being incredible value. But I'm most keen, as someone who's you're probably like one of the more notable Xbox content creators in our region. Like what has you most excited for Xbox moving forward?
Ooh. Consoles, limited edition designs, controllers. I'm a controller obsessed collector, so unfortunately that's always going to be my go-to when it comes to Xbox. I'm always hoping there's a special limited edition controller that I can collect. But other than that, to be honest, it's cloud gaming. I'm really keen to see how well Xbox manages to launch cloud gaming, because obviously it was here in beta for a while and then it's kind of gone again. And the fact that anyone can kind of play any of the new games and next gen games while having an old previous gen console is so unique and so special, because it allows so many more gamers that accessibility to play these new games without having to spend $700-800 to buy a new console. So I'd really like to see how well that goes, and obviously it means then that I can play more games and not have to worry about having to sit down at my desk and play on my console and things like that. I can just play it on my phone while I'm taking a break at work or out and about, while I'm a passenger in the car. There's just so many ways that I can experience gaming, and I think that's to me one of the most exciting things that Xbox has coming. And I think it's a big focus for them as well, because obviously their whole mantra is the more people play, the better games are, and the better gaming is for everyone. So I'm really keen for that.
Yeah, when everyone plays, we all win, right? Like that's one of their taglines moving forward. Yeah, I think it's hard to disagree with you on cloud gaming. Like I think it's incredibly exciting. Like I just look at how much more accessible gaming has become over the last generation as well, right? Like there's a lot of interest. You talk about how the consoles are capped at that 250-300 million mark, and we never exceed that. Like that's where the market, pardon me, is limited, and why cloud gaming is so important moving forward. As someone who's been on the publisher side, and as I would describe myself as like a student of the industry for more than half of my life at this point. Like I don't just love the games, I love the mechanics of the industry and everything that goes into them. And it's why I was driven to to find my way into the video game industry in some way. I'm most excited to see what it means to have huge companies really recognizing gaming as the entertainment medium of choice for these generations that are growing up in the world right now, right? Like we see Netflix say that their biggest competitor is Fortnite, and obviously they're trying to get into gaming as well. Amazon, Google, Facebook, they're all pursuing it, and now we have an Xbox fully backed by Microsoft to really take it to everyone else. And I know this is mentioned on other podcasts before, but Microsoft is really positioned as, best positioned to be the one to capitalize on this, right? They have the infrastructure, they have the content, they have the relationships with developers also. So yeah, I'm just really excited to see where it goes. It feels like we're on the cusp, right? Like it feels as though in the next few years, like that pie in the sky dream of just being able to Bluetooth wireless your controller to your TV, and you press A to open up the Xbox app like you would the Netflix app or the Disney Plus app, and immediately you're playing Forza Horizon 6, Game of the Year, according to Dhayana, everyone. Just want to make sure we all remember that. Yeah, that future isn't too, isn't far from our reach. So I think that's really exciting. And as someone who's like continues to be a gamer into adulthood as well, maybe you can vibe with this also. I just love the fact that now I've found myself in an ecosystem that respects my time and my finances and, my habits as an adult as well. And also that we have a great mechanic for discoverability, because if you look at my favorite games of the past few years, it's been all like these great little indie games like Cuphead and Celeste and Hades and whatnot. So I'm just most keen to, I can't see myself not unsubscribing from Game Pass. I know we keep hammering on about Game Pass, but at least in my eyes, it really is like the perfect amalgamation of everything I want from gaming. Yeah. So that's kind of where I land on that. But anyway, before this turns into more just Xbox love fest here on the question box, we'll probably wrap it up there. Diana, thanks so much for joining me. This has been an absolute treat. For those who want to keep up with you and everything all the fantastic work you do in the games industry, how can they follow along?
Well, I'm basically everywhere, but you can find me most active on Twitter as most-wishlisted. A lot of my content, like I said earlier in the show, we will be posting a lot of things up on Attack On Geek. You can see my partner behind me. Obviously, we are a couple who game together and do all kinds of content together. So yeah, you can find me almost everywhere. And hit me up if you ever want to talk about Xbox, because as you can see, I just love Xbox and can't stop gushing about it.
Nice, which is why we love having you on the show. Anyway, this has been the Question Box. Like I said, we record here on this Twitch channel, magic_cast, every Friday, 8:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. You can catch all of our past episodes on my YouTube channel. Just search Magic Casts on YouTube and follow me on Twitter as well, magic_cast. Thanks to everyone who joined us in chat. Great to see some new faces, including Haughty Chicken and Dame earlier as well. Thanks also to Jason for joining us. Thank you again to Dhayana. Stick around. I'm going to end the stream, but we will raid one of our good friends, so show them some love as well. And until next time, take care.